where you hear the synopsis of a movie. A young boy is afraid of many, many things, and he meets one of those things that he's afraid of, and hijinks ensues, and then he learns that he shouldn't be afraid anymore. Then, possibly you just scoff, you just roll your eyes and you say, well, I will just skip that. Let's forget about it. Because you heard so many stories for children and for us, for adults, that tell this type of story just like very basically without any conscious effort to do anything really smartly. But I would just implore you not to do that with Orion and the Dark. Because although it seems this is the same basic story, there is much more to it. It's not just black and white, it's not just darkness and light. It's much more about our fears and the fact that it's not that bad if you're still afraid of those things that you were afraid as a young person, if you're old and mature. This is not something that you would expect from a children animation, but yet there it is, and it's smart, and it can really take you off guard. So let's jump into our cosmic vehicle and let's start another journey in cinematic Julianism, this time unpacking the beautiful but complicated world that Orion and the Dark presents to us.
My name's Orion, and I'm afraid. Afraid of what, you want to know? It's most things, to be candid.
Orion and the Dark is a short story, is a short book for children made by Emma Yarlett, and it was the basis for the animation movie. But there's one thing that you should really highlight. It's a short story for children, but the person who wrote the screenplay for the animated movie is Charlie freaking Kaufman, the guy from the Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. And you can tell from the first scene that he had his fingers on the script of this movie. The story is, as I told you, a young guy, a young boy, Orion, is afraid of many, many things. Killer clowns, clogging up the toilet, of course, talking to girls, but also the dark. The dark is really, really scary. So, he is, as he's really, really scared, the night is a very, very troubling time for him. So one night, he actually meets the Dark. And Dark is a character, is an entity, and Dark is kind of depressed that everyone hates him. So he said, okay, I will take you on a journey and I will show you that Dark is not so scary, that I'm not such a bad guy. And their journey begins. And as you might expect, okay, our Orion learns, okay, it's not that scary, I can touch the dark, woo! And we all go home and we learn basically nothing.
You really think you can fix everything I'm afraid of in one night?
One night can change everything.
Yet, the movie goes along those lines and you can say, okay, I knew it. Suddenly, there's a stop. And you hear another voice that you never heard before. A person who is listening to the story being told to us. So like someone who is another narrator or another listener who's just saying, come on, those stories are not that easy. This is not just simple darkness and light, and darkness is not so bad. And at that moment, the story drastically changes. And it changes for the better, and it changes for us. Because this moment is like the little girl, the little narrator is telling us, please don't treat us kids as idiots. Treat us with a little bit of respect. The world is not black and white. It's not like, okay, I will see that the dog is not biting me, I will hug the dog, and every dog in the whole world will be just jumping and whistling, and we will all be friends forever and ever. No, it's not like that. And that moment is like a meta commentary to us who, to parents, to producers, to writers, to directors, to everyone who is telling stories to kids, to everyone who is trying to explain the word to kids, which is very important. Let's do not try to explain the word in extremely simple terms. Do not try to tell your children, oh, you don't have to be afraid of the dark. Because sometimes you should be afraid. And it's not always only be afraid or not be afraid. It's much more, what will you do if you are afraid? It's much more of, okay, I am still afraid of it, but it doesn't mean it will control my life. Also, the darkness suddenly changes. It's not just the villain or the anti-hero or whatever he's supposed to be in the first part of the movie. Suddenly, he becomes the entity that highlights things that you have missed, that you lost. He is the one that is pointing out to elements of your life, to experience of your life, to everything that you might encounter, experience, learn only thanks to the darkness. It sounds so ominous, right? The darkness. So what I'm trying to say is that suddenly the movie is not saying the darkness is such a good, it's so beautiful, without the darkness you will not live. No, it's trying to show us, but very slowly. First of all, yes, you can be still afraid as an adult person. You can still be afraid of millions of things. But secondly, that it's sometimes even the fear can lead to something new. That something that you fear can lead to a different experience. And that some things that you might consider not worthy, if you approach it differently, those things can lead you to something that you will never ever see, meet, experience. Here we have, of course, nature. For example, like you can only see the stars in the dark, like, of course. So you need darkness to let the stars shine bright. Yeah, of course. And this is a great example. This is a great example that helps, in my opinion, helps to treat children as adults, as people who would understand such a concept. That, for example, you need silence to catch like one of those crickets somewhere. You need sleep just to not be anxious anymore. There are a lot of, I would say, smartly hidden lessons for the adults that are here in this children's animation. There are so many little hints like, I know why you are stressed. Come on, take a chill pill. Your anxiety is on the top level all day, every day, because you don't get enough sleep, because you eliminate the dark from your life, the darkness from your life. And of course, it's not the main issue. But if you're watching the movie with your kids, if you're watching the movie and you're working in like IT or whatever, and like working not 9 to 5 but I don't know, 12 hours a day or whatever, and you're working also nights, you suddenly you're starting to hear like someone is pinching you, starting to feel like it's, oh yeah, I know, like the guilt overwhelms you. Yeah, I'm kind of messing it up, aren't I? So this is beautiful in this movie. Like the movie, even though it's a children's movie, even though the premise is basic as F, it's really basic, there's so much more to it. And once you finish the movie, you uncover the beautiful message that is not just focused on the kids. It's focused on like families and on generational trauma and of dealing with those generational traumas, generational fears, and how we change our stories that we tell ourselves not to be afraid. This is one of those things that I would never expect, that the movie ends and finally, okay, this is about how we as adults deal with fears and how we try to teach our kids to deal with fears, and then how our kids teach their kids how to deal with fears, and how our story changes to accommodate different experiences. So this is something that is so beautiful because it also tells us the story that you were told by your grandfather, grandmother, whatever, the things they told you, how to deal with the darkness, with all the other fears, or the fear of being bullied or whatever, it might not apply to you because we all change, because our experience change, and because the bullies of like 1980s or 1920s or the 19th century are not the same bullies are now or in 20 years time. Therefore, they need a new remedy. And it's not just you don't need to be afraid. No, you still can be afraid. That's probably one of the nicest scene in the whole movie. That's reminiscent of Inside Out, of Pixar's Inside Out, where our characters show, and it's not hidden as like a great reveal. It is shown in a way of a joke that is not really important at the, let's say, first part of the movie. That our characters still can be afraid, and it's good. It's a good reaction. It's good reaction for an adult to be afraid and to not run away, but to decide, okay, I will not face this fear right now because it's idiotic. And then when we have our big reveal, then sometimes it's good to be afraid and yet still take the jumpness into nothingness, into the unknown. The element, again, with Pixar Inside Out, where one of our characters suddenly realize, okay, it's okay to be sad. So this is like, if those two movies coexisted, like, and you had a double feature, it would be the first lesson, it's okay to be sad. And the second would be, it's okay to be afraid. There's nothing wrong with it, whether you are a child or an adult. It's such a refreshing story that it's not trying to teach us, okay, everything bad. If you look at it, it's not a T-Rex. It's a huggy Rex. Like, it's not a devil dinosaur. It's a good dinosaur that you should hug. No! I love when animated movies are not trying to talk down to us, whether we are children or adults, when they're trying to show us something. There is something more, that it's some nuance in the world, and that you need both the light and the darkness, and it doesn't make one or the other superior, evil, or whatever. So exactly the same you can apply to your life.
You come watch me do my job for one night, and you'll finally see that I'm nothing to be afraid of. Are you in or are you in?
So if I could just sum up the whole movie experience that I had of Orion in the Dark, I would just say, like, it's a smart movie. It's a smart movie that addresses the fears, the universal fears of both children and adult, in a smart way and without condescending voice and just talking down to both children and adult. That's why, please, I advise you to give it a chance. You might find it much more engaging, much more funny, with much bigger heart that you would expect, and I think it's a great movie to watch with your children, with your parents. I'm not sure why I'm showing parents like they live upstairs, or rather they dead and they looking down to me from heaven or whatever. So give it a chance, and please let me know if you had similar experiences. If you also think that this movie is really much smarter than it's supposed to be, because again, it's a very short story for children, and they made it into such a huge and beautiful world with so much nuance, with so much, not only light and darkness, but everything in between, with so much place for a gray and complicated world. So, thank you for watching. Please join our cinematic Julianism world. Let's go on another adventure, and we'll see each other next time on the next adventure when we'll exploring the cinematic world that is around us.